Hello, everyone. I thought that I would check in on the Karen Read trial number 2. A lot of what's going on right now is very, I guess, nerd-centric, which, I am not. I'm not saying that that's good or bad. Just as it turns out, a lot of that stuff is over my head. I don't know if either side has really proven anything so far, but it's kind of like a different language. Anyway, I thought I would look at the JenniferMcCabe 911 call and Karen's reaction from Court TV from that trial date. Looks like they played it both days. I don't remember that, but I find listening to her call quite challenging as someone who's, therapist and who has counseled people and is interested in human behavior and likes to kind of pay attention to what maybe is not being said. I find there's a lot of interesting responses that might be hints from the way JenniferMcCabe acts and the things that she says and doesn't say in this call. So I just thought I would play that. Okay. Where should I put myself? Okay, we'll just move me up here for now, and then here we go.
I called 911.
I'd like to move to introduce a copy of that 911 call.
Okay. Do you have something physically to... Thank you.
Ms. McLaughlin does.
Thank you.
With,
45. Thank you.
with the court's permission, I'd like to play Exhibit 45.
Yes.
No, this is for Yes, I need someone from the third floor Fairview Road in Canton, Mass. The van passed out in the snow.
So I just want to say, I know that the defense has just started putting their case on. It would be interesting to have someone from that side dissect this phone call. It's the Commonwealth that has brought in this call both times so far, which I guess makes sense. But it would be interesting to have someone, maybe a behavior analyst or a psychologist, testify on behalf of the defense of what kind of it means when they hear her call and deliver the information about this, because I don't know if this sounds good for JenniferMcCabe or the Commonwealth. When I hear it, there's a lot of weird things in this call. Anyway, I'll say more as it goes.
Yeah, I don't know why I did that. I could keep going. Like, please, anybody hearing this? It's okay. Okay. I know. We're in the project. I don't keep going to Karen.
911, what's your emergency?
I need someone to come immediately to 34 Fairview Road, Canton, Mass.
What's going on?
There's a guy unresponsive in the snow.
In the snow, 34?
Yes, 34, the Albert resident. Yes, I just pulled up behind him.
Okay, 34.
So this is her saying there is a guy in the snow. So I find it interesting that she doesn't mention that this is her dear friend and police officer, John O'Keefe, who is clinging to life in the snow. So that to me indicates possible deception. She already knows he's dead. She maybe would benefit from the fact that he's no longer with us because she knows what happened and she's protecting other people. Doesn't come across as someone who loves this person. And if they did, there's something else at stake because there's distancing language. She's using a lot of distancing language, this guy.
Fairview?
34 Fairview, Canton, Mass. Yes.
911 is under motor. Where's your emergency? Hello?
Yes, I'm sorry. Can you come to 34 Fairview Road in Canton?
34 Fairview?
Yes, there's a man unresponsive in the snow.
Okay. And what else?
He's gonna get here, okay?
Okay.
She said 34 Fairview.
What's going on? Is he face down?
We just stripped him over.
Okay. And who's that in the background? Is that
He turned him over.
His girlfriend,
So he was face down initially?
Okay, how old is he?
John is 46 years old.
46. How long has he been outside?
I don't know. I don't know. He got out of the car and it could have been a couple of hours. Is he Jerry? Is he? I don't. I don't.
So she's already working on the story, right? He got out of the car. Is that something that you would say? Would that, if you weren't trying to already create a narrative? It kind of reminds me of Idaho when they finally call 911, these alleged victims, and they say, oh, and by the way, there was a man in the house last night, that kind of like thing that you wouldn't necessarily say, that isn't paramount when your good friend is dead or dying. It's guilt knowledge to me.
No, two women. There are two women trying to and they're hysterical.
Okay, can you just try asking? I know it's tough, but we have to get the fire department going. They just got to know.
Okay. Is he breathing? It doesn't seem to be breathing.
Okay, do they know how to do CPR? Do they want to attempt CPR?
Yes, he's got to do CPR. No, I guess he's gone.
Okay, they don't feel comfortable doing so?
No, I think he's passed away.
Okay. All right, we have the fire department and the police.
So why is it so obvious to her that he's passed away, and why is she whispering? They're both frantic, so it isn't obvious to them he's passed away. It sounds like he was still bleeding, which means he maybe was not out there, as long as, you know, the McAlberts want you to think. But she's whispering he's passed away. Why? Strange. How does she know that? And why is she so calm?
Just running on the way. If everyone's declining CPR, then I'll hang up with you, and if anything changes, you can give us a call back. Where are you guys outside?
Right up front of the car. I know, I'm on the phone with the Andrews. I know, honey, I know. No, Carrie, you gotta get off of me. Carrie, you gotta get off of him.
You know if there was any alcohol or drugs involved?
He had been out.
Definitely drugs and alcohol involved. Well, I don't know about drugs. Definitely a lot of alcohol involved. Don't know why that's not just obvious. You'd probably want them to know that. He was likely intoxicated. And why is she telling Carrie to get off of him? Is she doing CPR? If so, why? Does she need to get off of him? She's probably really small. He's a big guy. I don't know. Maybe she needs to be in order to press hard enough.
They've been on drinking.
Yes, like I'm talking hours about maybe, and I don't know how long he's been.
Okay, is there any bleeding or anything? Maybe in his head? His head out?
Yes, possibly. I think he's bleeding in the face.
Okay, bleeding from the face. All right.
Yes.
And how big the pool of blood is, if there is any?
Something's coming out the nose, and one of the women is doing CPR.
Okay, one of them is doing CPR?
Yes, they're both working on him.
I think it's interesting he's bleeding from the face, so they found him face down and turned him over. So if he got hit by a car, how did he hit his head and then fall over face down? Because it sounds like she said we turned him over. That's pretty huge. I wonder if they're going to mention that, because doesn't that discount the whole prosecution theory of he was sideswiped and did a pirouette and hit his head and died? If he hit the back of his head, because that's where it was hit.
All right, if you want CPR, and just let me, just give us a call back if he becomes responsive, right? But we're on the way.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. McCabe, describe your mental state when you were speaking to 911.
I guess the best way to describe it was I was in shock. My heart was racing. I was trying to be as helpful as I could and get the information to the most important.
She was trying to be as helpful as she could, but she didn't say his full name or that he was a police officer, and she didn't seem to particularly rush them. She didn't say, send this person, send a paramedics, and that she was actually quite withholding and vague. And in terms of being in shock, it's possible. She was kind of slow and calm. That doesn't necessarily mean she wasn't in shock. So that could be true. But I'm skeptical. What do you guys think?
Important information out as quick as I could to the 911 operators, but also the scene there with Karen and Kerry was a bit chaotic between the two of them. So I was just trying my best to be as calm as I could, to get help there as fast as I could, and to answer their questions the best that I could.
Before you,
I did everything perfectly. I'm Jen McCabe. Is it just me, or does it sound like she has a little bit of disdain for Karen and Carrie for being chaotic? I mean, it was a crisis, right? They had just found or seen their loved one on the ground, probably for the first time, unlike maybe you. I don't know. But it's weird. Then again, some might say, yeah, that's her personality, and when that happens, someone takes over and is the calm one. I don't know.
told the 911 operator John O'Keefe's name and his age. You said there's a man in the snow. Do you know why you chose those words?
I think I just wanted to get out the most specific details. So a man in the snow versus, John O'Keefe and into a story.
I can't help myself, but that's bullshit. Sorry, my facial expressions. I'm working on them. The details are there's a man in the snow? Seems really vague to me. Well, what's he doing? Is he making snow angels?
I think I just was get the details to them as fast as possible to get help there to him as fast as possible.
When you told the 911 operator that your friend John O'Keefe was the person lying in the snow, how did you know his age?
We used to joke because he was a couple months older than me. So I would, say, oh, well, you're older than me. It was a silly little thing between friends.
When you called the 911 operator, had Kerry and the defendant already been around or near John?
Yes.
Do you know if they had begun trying CPR before you called 911?
I'm not sure if they had, because Karen had straddled him and was lifted her shirt, was warming him up, and then Kerry was yelling at her to get off. And I think when Kerry got the blankets and was trying to put him under John.
Just want to say I've watched this trial, and she forgets a lot of things that are very convenient for her. But she seems to remember a lot of details that are like potentially mocking of Karen, sometimes even Carrie for some reason, which is strange because Carrie has become her little sidekick, right? But that might be more of an indication of Carrie's issues. She straddled him and was like, it's interesting.
I think as she started to move him and wipe him, blood started to come out. And then Karen was afraid that he was going to choke on his blood and wanted to move him on his side. But then Kerry was yelling at her, we can't move him. And this was kind of all going on while I was talking to 911.
You described what you saw, and you said at some point he was bleeding from the face area. Was that before or after he was moved?
After.
Before he was moved, did you see any active bleeding?
No.
Before he was moved from where? Who moved him and when?
After you called 911, what do you do next?
I think I called my sister and she didn't answer. And then as I think I called her as I was walking over to John and she didn't answer. And then I immediately got down on the ground and Kerry Roberts asked me to take over.
How long did you try to help John for?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
How long were you and the defendant and Miss Roberts there before someone else arrived?
Police officer was the first to arrive. In the moments, it seemed like a long time, but I think it was fairly quick that they arrived.
Any point during the time when you tried to help Mr. O'Keefe and the first police officer arrived, at any point did you see any signs of life from Mr. O'Keefe?
No.
When the police officer first arrived, do you remember what happened next?
I remember it was very chaotic, but there was talk about a spotlight. And I remember, I think I got up and ran to kind of wave the, to get the police officer's attention so he could see where we were.
And then what happens?
The police.
So I find that, oftentimes when people are lying or not entirely sure of the truth, they'll say things like to distract, like, oh, it was so chaotic, there was a light coming from over there and so was doing this and this other person was doing this and so I don't really know. All I really remember is this. Just kind of like really, look over here, not over here, as I'm trying to remember what's good for me to say versus what might be crap. I'm getting that kind of a vibe from her, like, it was chaos. I'm not sure. Wait, let me try and remember.
Officer, not sure specific. I do remember him asking about John. I think he said, is he a drug user? He was just asking some basic questions.
And what's the environment? What's going on around you?
Karen's just running around crazy, like just yelling, screaming, kind of like a ping pong.
What are you trying to do?
I was just trying to talk to the officer. I guess I just went into this like type of mode of, all right, I have to just talk to him, get the information out, figure out like how we can best help John and like what happened to him and try to save him ultimately.
And what happens next?
More officers begin to come, fire and EMT. So the scene becomes active with a lot of different presence. John, I think they lift John onto a board at one point. The officers are asking us questions. Karen's kind of coming over, talking to the questions, and then kind of just running away, and then she just runs back over. She's doing a lot of screaming, a lot of repetitive, is he dead, is he dead, is he dead? Could I have hit him? Did I hit him? Kerry, I think, Kerry's off kind of making phone calls, I believe, to John's family.
Okay, so it doesn't sound like at this point she said, I hit him,
to assist
I hit
Ms. Reed
him,
in giving first aid to.
I hit him, I hit him. Now it's 4 times, right? Interesting. Yeah, so trial resumes again, defense, more witnesses. Kind of happy, boring Steve Carell is over, gotta say. Don't really know what he proved or didn't prove. I know people might be upset with me. Some people think that he kind of put Burgess and that other douchebags in their places, but I don't really know yet. We'll see. Looking forward to seeing how Lucky does this time. It was a little shaky last trial, but could be helpful. All right, let me know what you guys think. Peace.